Hello and welcome to Evolve Business with Boatema Boateng. My name is Boatema Boateng. This is our first ever Instagram live show, and so I hope you pardon us when we encounter any teething problems. Today we are going to be discussing due diligence in financing transactions with lawyer Thecla Wricketts. Okay, so I'll just quickly allow Thecla in. Yes. So if this is the first time you're joining Evolve Business with Boatema Boateng, Evolve Business is an online talk show on how business law is actually applied in Ghana. Yes, Mami Apia, I see you. Welcome for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. Okay. I was saying, so Evolve Business does everything. For those of us who behind the scenes, we call Evolve Business the business show for growth-oriented Ghanaian businesses in Ghana. Yes. So whilst we are waiting for Thecla to join, okay, so yes, there we go. We are having some teething problems. Let me invite Thecla again. Hi, Senna. I see you.
Oh, great.
Lovely. Thecla, you may have to put on your video. For some reason. Hi, there you are, beautiful. How are you?
Hi.
And
Hey,
welcome
how you
to Business with Boatema.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, so in order not to take too much time, let's just go straight to reading our problem for today. We have a letter, and let's just go right into it. Hang on a second. I hope you were able to hear me, Thecla. Hi guys, is everyone able to hear me? Okay. Looks like we lost Thecla. Right. Okay, so whilst you're waiting for Thecla, let me just read our problem for today again. Okay, so dear Evolve Business, my name is Aisha and I have a microfinance company. Recently, an investor has approached me about a possible equity investment in my company. We have signed a term sheet. However, the investor is requesting for financial and legal due diligence on my company. I get the financial due diligence part. Okay. However, I just don't get what we need a legal due diligence audit for. My real concerns are, what is a legal due diligence audit? 2, what should I expect? And 3, why at all is it important in a financing transaction? Okay, so I'm trying to get Thecla to join again. Pardon us, guys. As I said earlier, our first Instagram live show, and so we will definitely be having some teething issues. Welcome back, Thecla.
Hi, thank you.
So Thecla is a lawyer. Let me introduce her properly. She's a lawyer and she is passionate about business, law, finance, and investment. So she's seasoned in our topic for today. She's conducted many due diligence audits on various transactions, both on the equity and both on the debt side. So Thecla, I mean, let's go straight into Aisha's situation. She's saying that she doesn't understand why a due diligence audit is even required, legal due diligence audit is even required in the first place, you know. So for the sake of our viewers, what are financing transactions? Start from there before we visit our topic for today. So basically, the question is, what are financing transactions?
Right. So financing transactions, as the words literally say, are transactions that involve financing of businesses. So a business may be financed by equity or by debt. But for the purpose of our background, we will just move direct to debt financing. So debt financing here means you are going for a loan, and a loan can be obtained from a bank. It can be obtained from an individual who wants to invest in your business. And we have high-end individuals who are investing in businesses. Even a family member or even your spouse can enter into a financing agreement or arrangement with you where they provide funding for your business with the expectation that it will be paid back with or without an interest.
Right. Okay. So basically, if I understand what you're saying, financing transactions are transactions in which companies raise funding for their business needs, right? Okay. Now, the first question is from Aisha is, what is a legal due diligence audit?
Okay. Aisha, and for everyone else who is watching, I always describe this first when it comes to legal due diligence. Anyone doing business should understand that a business is a creature under law. So your business entity has been birthed through laws and also is governed and regulated by law. It means that whatever you do in your business is not just making money, it's not just selling, but there are some legal requirements, legal regulatory requirements or legal processes that have to be followed. So when we talk about legal due diligence, we say we are investigating into the affairs of the business to confirm that legally it is an organization, institution, or a business that is compliant, that has less or no legal issues, that is doing its business or conducting its business in line with law, and with also if there are any legal consequences of business actions, that we understand those consequences, we know the impacts on the business, how to remove them, how to limit them, and how to advise the investor about them. So it's basically assessing your books and your operation to give a report or to give us an idea of how you are doing your business legally.
Okay, so I mean, let's look at it in two ways. Okay, so first from the investor standpoint, why should an investor be interested in a legal due diligence audit in the first place? And then we can look at it from the business owner's standpoint. Okay, so why should be interested, an investor be interested in the due diligence report?
So, I mean, it's a very important question. And for an investor, there is no legal requirement that says an investor should conduct due diligence. But we also understand the principle of buyer beware. That means if you're going into a business and investing, you must have adequate information about the investment, about the business you're going to invest in. Because as an investor, you're looking at your returns and you are considering whether it's going to do well, whether it's even a legal activity, and whether you wouldn't be implicated by investing in it. So for an investor, you need that information. It helps you understand the operations. It helps you to even negotiate the terms, because if there are certain compliance issues that are not met, through the due diligence report and through the knowledge of this, you're able to negotiate terms and conditions in your contract to ensure that those compliance are met. And it also helps you know the value of the business. So if, for instance, the business is has a lot of legal liabilities, which is not recorded on its books, but which is reviewed by the due diligence process, you get to understand that the financials may not be giving a true picture, because there are certain regulatory requirements that have been breached that have some legal implications that will affect the value of the business. So the seller, most importantly, needs to have this information.
Oh, wow. So if I understand what you're saying, yes, that means that sometimes you could have a business that has a financial report that is next to perfect, but then the financial report alone will not show the true picture of a company if that company, for instance, is not in compliance with certain laws. Okay, Aisha is saying that she has a microfinance company. The first thing that comes to mind is that means Aisha's business is regulated by the Bank of Ghana. Okay, so if the Bank of Ghana has certain requirements that Aisha is not complying with, sometimes it stands from certain penalties all the way to sometimes imprisonment. And so assuming, Aisha, we are not saying that you have problems with your business, but assuming your financials come clean and you have situations with the Bank of Ghana, from what Thecla is saying, it could also be a problem, because it could expose the potential investor to certain liabilities, right? Is that what you're saying?
Exactly, correctly so.
Okay, so what about on Aisha's side? Should Aisha also be interested in conducting a due diligence on the investor? What about the business owner's side?
Absolutely. As a business owner, you need to know, as I said earlier, the business you are conducting is a creature under law. Okay, so you need to understand as a business yourself, or as a business owner, how your operations are being conducted. Are they in compliance with the law? It also helps you, even with a transaction of this sort, it helps you bargain well, because you know that you're compliant, you know that you are on the side of the law, and you know that there are very little litigation that might come up in the transaction. So it helps you in your negotiation. It also helps you as a business owner to understand your business, to understand the shortfalls, to know how to put things together. And especially as a microfinance, and just as you rightly said, the Bank of Ghana has tons of regulations about such institution, and you need, including most importantly, the corporate governance. So you need to understand how your decisions should be made, the consequences that will come up if your decisions are not made in line with the law, how to even set up your governance body, and all of this information should be clear to you as a business owner, and it will help you preserve and protect your business. We all saw what happened in the banking industry cleanup, and I don't think anyone in that industry wants to be a victim should there be another regulatory action. So it's very important as well for Aisha.
Oh, wow. So Aisha is saying that she doesn't understand why the investor is asking for due diligence audits on theirs. Now, this is not a question from Aisha. I want to know that should Aisha also be concerned about finding out who these investors are? You know, these days you have people laundering money from illegal activity and trying to clean up through viable going concerns all over the world. And so should Aisha also be interested in investigating the potential investor also through a due diligence audit?
Absolutely so. Aisha needs to know. So the practical consideration here is that before Aisha even engages this investor, it's either Aisha is working through a broker, and it should be a well-known licensed authorized brokers who conduct all this due diligence on their investors and are there's some form of security. If Aisha is asking from the general public or went online to find somebody who is probably interested in investing in business, then Aisha stands a risk if she does not conduct her investigations into the business of this investor. But to be fair, in practice, the the investors most at times may not be willing to cooperate or coordinate when it comes to your due diligence. So now we always advise our clients, have your company policy, because when it's part of your company policy, it means this is how you transact your business. And anyone who is dealing with whether an investor or even a distributor or a supplier knows that before they engage with you in any transaction, there are some investigations that will be conducted. And so when they are aware, before you even start negotiations, it helps in the exchange of information. So Aisha, being the lender, the borrower, to make this clear from the very beginning and onset to the investor that these are the information my company, per my company policy, would require or request to do concerning your business as well. But it's very important both parties are clear on that.
All right. So listening to you, what comes to mind is like, and I digress, like a marriage, you know, when two single people meet each other, they don't know each other from anywhere. You know, back in the day, they'll say that the man will go into the man's family will go into the community to ask about the woman's family will go into the community to ask about the man and his family to find. So this is something like that. It's like two parties, because Aisha is saying that the potential investor is talking about an equity investment in her company. She doesn't know them from anywhere. And if she's regulated by the Bank of Ghana, they are looking for at least people who will pass a fit and proper kind of test. And if you don't know them from anywhere and then you enter into this marriage with them, you could be found wanting. So due diligence audits, like listening to you, is like a two-way sword. So it's basically the two parties getting to know each other, and after finding out whatever they need to find out from this this process, then they will decide that, okay, based on these results, we want to go ahead or we want to forget about the entire transaction, you know, in general. So, but Aisha is also asking what she should expect from this exercise. What should she expect? How is this conducted?
Okay, so as I said, this is an investigation. An investigation means you are going to review your books. So Aisha should expect we call something a due diligence checklist. So this checklist provides a list of the information that will be requested. So generally, legal due diligence looks at your incorporation. Who are your shareholders, and have shares been issued? Have they been paid for? Has share certificate been given? And has the Companies Act requirement been complied with in the issue or with the issue of the shares? We also look at your incorporation. When were you incorporated? Do you have all your certificates? Have you re-registered if you were an old entity? And we check also, we need evidence of your incorporation, so you have to provide all of those information to us. Then we also request look at your contracts, and these contracts are very important because what most people don't understand is that some agreements have implications on the value of their business. So if you have a supply agreement, for instance, that is on credit terms, and as of today you have like a 1-year debt to this creditor, the investor will need to know, because this person will have to be paid, and that is a liability to the company. So we have to review all your contracts, the material contracts most importantly, to understand the implications that they may have on your business. So we request for that. We request for employee or employment terms, because employment is also regulated. So we need to be sure that you are compliant, you are paying your pensions, your salaries. Once they agree, they agree. So we may not have much to say there. But then the regulatory parts, we have to check that they are being complied with. And if they are not, for instance, if they are not paying their tax, their pensions, it means that you actually have penalties. And aside having penalties, the pensions regulators can actually take action against the company, which is a potential risk to an investor. The investor may not want to invest in a business where tomorrow they are being called up into court for non-payment of pension contributions for employees. So we have to check all of these things. Also check your finance agreement, because most finance agreements come or are secured. So if you've secured your finance agreement with company assets, then you may be recording those assets on your books, but they may not, there's the potential or a possibility that they will end up, if you default, end up going to the lender. So we need to review all of your financials, and then there are some contracts which have some clauses that is not prevent, that require that consent when you are getting an investor. So we need to review all your contracts and be sure that all such consents we can obtain, because once you have signed them, it limits you. So we have to obtain those consents before you can proceed with this new investor. So we check all of these, and it's about providing the information, providing them on time, so that the lawyers will be able to review them, prepare their reports, and then advise on even how the transaction should be structured so that risk could be reduced for both parties.
Okay, so I mean, this is from the lawyer's standpoint. So as lawyers, when you're conducting due diligence reports, you just take, I mean, how do you do it? Do you just take information from the company, or you work with the regulators that are applicable in that situation to be able to finalize your report?
We definitely work with regulators. So in as much as we request for information from the companies, we need to confirm from the public documents. So we conduct searches. You need to confirm, for instance, if you've done, what do you call it, a loan agreement which is secured, and the law is secured with, let's say, landed assets, and you're supposed to register this with the Lands Commission, and then we conduct our search and it's not registered there, it's a potential liability. So we conduct searches with all these regulators to confirm that your state, your compliant, and you have a clean status with them.
Okay, so what about if the company has a clean record, the company has the financials are all right, the material contract, everything checks the box, but then there's a litigation a litigation around an amount which is so high that it could affect the transaction. What do you do in those circumstances?
It's definitely a red flag. So once there is litigation, and of course, if it's going to go against the borrower here or the business here, that means that there will be enforcement. And enforcement means that the assets of the company may go into the hands of another person. So once there is an ongoing litigation, in fact, we red flag it. And the best advice for an investor in that situation would be to wait till you hear the outcome of the litigation. But depending, in some transactions, they would move all these liabilities outside the transaction. So it's to be part of the structuring. They can structure it in such a way that the liability remains, or the investor is not affected by the outcome of the litigation. Or as the parties so require, this is why the due diligence is very important. This is why the searches are very important. But it helps both parties know how to go about the investment transaction with all these red flags and all these risks pending.
Thank you so much, Thecla. I mean, I think we've touched on Aisha's third question, but for Aisha's sake, we can go back to it. She's asking, why at all was it important to have to conduct a legal due diligence audit in her financing transaction? I know we've touched on it. Can you briefly go over that again, please?
Okay. So Aisha, if you're listening, it's really important you conduct a legal due diligence. For this particular transaction you're contemplating, you need to be aware of the risk. Both parties need to be aware of the risk that will be affected. And you need to know how you're going to reduce or minimize or even remove the risk. And then it also helps you to structure the transaction in a way that both parties will be comfortable. So for both the lender or the investor and the business, you need this information. The investor needs to be aware of the business, in terms of its value, in terms of its compliance, in terms of its possible risk and liabilities. And as a business, you need to know your status. You need to know your compliance level. You need to also put in the right structures to ensure that in your day-to-day operations, you are not infringing on the law and you are not incurring some liability that may not be on your books but will affect the value of your business and will affect an investor in such a situation.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Thecla. This has been so insightful. We could go on and on and on. I said to you that it's going to be just two girls talking about a subject that you are so passionate about. Thank you for your time. It's been so insightful. Yes, special thanks goes to my proud sponsor, our proud sponsor. She actually gave me a lovely necklace for today. Thank you very much, family, for your time, for joining us. Thank you, and see you sometime soon. Enjoy a lovely evening, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.